All right, so one other thing that I wanted to show you guys is this engine is filthy. Take a look at this. Look down in there. We got mouse food. We got nest material. I mean, this is about an inch deep of crap sitting on top of this motor. So hats off to Ford that this sucker was running at all. We're gonna get this all cleaned up and painted, and it's gonna be beautiful when it goes back together. But I just thought you guys would like to see, if you haven't had your hood open in a while and you got an older Ford truck, you might want to check and make sure you don't got varmints living in there. What's up, guys? We are ready for the next episode in our Project Highboy. I guess we're going to call it Highboy, even though it's not really a Highboy. And our Project 250 here is time to get to work on the engines. So, as you recall, last episode we got it out and we cleaned up all the transmission fluid and stuff that we accidentally spilled, disposed of that in a proper manner, and now we've got the engine and the transmission sitting here made it together. We need to figure out what's wrong with the engine, and at the very least we're going to be cleaning it up and probably pulling the heads. So we need to get it on the engine stand, which means separating that C6 transmission from the 5-liter engine. So let's get to work. The problem that we're having is, as you can see, the transmission dipstick right here needs to come out with the transmission, but it is wedged underneath our chain. So what I've done is I've stuck this 2x4 right underneath this exhaust manifold, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the pressure on the engine here, and that'll allow me to unhook this and unhook this, and then take the dipstick off or slide the transmission back, either way, without this causing a problem. So let's do that. Something. All right, this is the torque converter. That's an automatic only thing, so if you're not super familiar with transmissions, manual transmissions don't have these. And this is the flywheel. And I was noticing something. If you take a look right here, see that teeth all chewed off right there? I think we're going to need a new flywheel. That's from the starter not being fully engaged. And you'll notice, because of the way V8 engines stop, we'll find this in certain spots all the way around the transmission. So if you look, here's another one right here where it's all chewed up, and if we keep going, we'll find some more down here and all the way around. So what that means is that at one point, somebody, either the starter, probably since we saw a new starter on there, the starter was old, and it started wearing away at the tooth, and pretty soon there was just the end pieces, and then it would start spinning. So if you go to hit your starter and you hear bzzz instead of the engine actually cranking, that bzzz is the transmission flywheel, or the flywheel here, spinning against the gear tooth on the starter. So I think we're going to need a new one of those, because that's not good. Now, we could make it work because there is half of this is still here. And if we get the starter seated properly, then it can turn on it. But the only way to change this is to take everything apart this far. Might as well fix it now while we're there. So what we need to do next, take this torque converter off. You access it by reaching through the starter holes here. So what we'll be doing is putting a big wrench on this and turning this thing. If there's too much compression for me to turn it, then we'll be pulling the spark plugs out of the engine so that we get rid of that compression. And then we should be able to turn this to get to these things. I'm assuming that the engine isn't seized. If it is, that's a whole different problem, and we'll deal with that. So let's see what we can do. All right, back from buying this. So needed something to fit on the end here so that I could hold the torque converter while we were undoing those bolts. And I did not have a big enough one of these. So now we do. So let's get to work. I'm not sure if this happens to you, but I can't seem to do a project without having to go to the hardware store at least once, sometimes twice. And today we're going to go 3 times. So we've already been to the hardware store to get the coolant for the Suburban, which the whole reason we're doing the engine right now is to get it out of this stall so that we can get the Suburban in, because the Suburban needs to tow the 250 down to get some electronics taken out of the interior. The Suburban has a leaky radiator. So we're trying to do that and just getting ready to, so we had to go get coolant for the Suburban, and then I forgot rags, which were totally out. So went back to the parts store to get rags. And now these bolts are too short to fit through the adapter, which we need to put that black adapter right there onto the end of that engine. And these need to be about 3 1/8 or 3 1/4, and they are 2 1/2. So they're not gonna work. And I don't have any long enough. So we're gonna go down to the hardware store and get those and come back, and hopefully 3rd time's the charm. We got our bolts. That's fantastic. More importantly, we got our tasty, tasty salsa. If you've never tried this stuff, it is fantastic. This is a local product here in Colorado, so I don't know if they make it out to where you are, but if they do, you definitely want some. This is fantastic. All right, back to the garage. All right, well, the engine is on the engine stand. Very excited about that. Like I mentioned, we got to work on the Suburban. So we're going to clean this up. We're going to get everything moved off to the side. And then I think we're going to call it a day. And then tomorrow we will pause working on the 250 and jump onto the Suburban so that we can tow this thing down to get the work done on it. So catch you. Probably not tomorrow, but the next day. Catch you then. All right, guys, it is the next day. I got a little cold on us, so I got a sweatshirt on, but that's not going to stop us. We're going to keep going. Gonna get this motor torn down today. Now, as you'll recall, when we took this thing apart, we weren't sure what was the matter with the engine. The guy that we bought it from said that it had a hole in it and it did not run. We didn't care because the price was right, and if we had to fix the motor, then we had to fix the motor. It'd just be more entertainment for you guys. We'd be able to put new components in it, and if it just needed a head gasket, which is what we were hoping, then it would be an easy fix for us. It is not an easy fix. We figured out what's wrong with it. Let me show you. Well, that's your problem right there. Yeah, that's shaped about the exact shape as the end of a connecting rod. Most likely the number 7 connecting rod. So that's what's wrong with this. So we will definitely be completely tearing this thing apart and rebuilding it. So you're going to get to see that. All right, so to explain that just a little bit more, what happened to this, now that we've gotten it out, we can see what's wrong with it, is it ran low on coolant. You'll remember when we were first tearing the engine apart in the very first episode, sorry, not the engine, the truck. In the very first episode, there was no coolant in the upper radiator hose when we poured that off. That's a bad sign. That means that the sucker was low on coolant. The coolant was in really nice shape, which was good. The truck was being well taken care of, but had a leak someplace, and it got low on coolant and it overheated. So what happened is the way the cooling system goes through this block, the rear pistons are normally a little, not quite, the coolant's got to runs through from up here where the water pump is, and the back of the engine, just the way Ford designed it, tends to not be quite, the cooling is not quite as good at the back as it is at the front. And so that piston got hot sooner, and what it did is as the piston got hot, it expanded inside that cylinder wall, and eventually it just, it expanded so much, it just stopped. And this engine's spinning around in here at 2,000 RPM or 3,000 RPM, whatever it was, that piston just stopped. Or it slowed it down, but eventually it grabbed a hold of it and it stopped it. And so then what happened is you've got your piston on top and then you've got your connecting rod, and what happened is the piston stopped, the connecting rod kept going. So it broke the bottom of the piston, or it broke the top of the connecting rod, or broke the wrist pin, or whatever it might have been. We'll figure that out when we take this apart. And then once that piston was stopped and the connecting rod continued to go back down, now that connecting rod's flopping around inside there because it's got nowhere that it's not being held by the piston anymore. And when it came back up, it just boom right through the side of that oil pan. So what we have to do now is we've got to tear this down. We've got to get all the pieces off of it so that we can send the motor out to get honed, so that they can hopefully drill out the bad part of the engine. So we'll find out. So basically what we need to do is we need to tear this all apart, and then once we've got all the components and everything off of it, then we'll take the cylinder heads off of it, we'll pull the oil pan, we'll open everything up, we'll be able to see what the actual damage is. So let's get started tearing it apart. All right, so just a quick, I want to show you something real fast. If you have an older vehicle like this that has a distributor, which is that thing right there, and normally has this guy sitting on top of it, so you see it like that with spark plug wires coming out of it. If you have one of those and you need to leave this thing for a long time, or you're going someplace and you want to keep it from getting stolen, just pull this thing out. So this comes right out. This is your rotor, and without this, the vehicle will not run. So you put the cap back on, and it's very difficult for anybody who is not going to spend time diagnosing it to know what's wrong with it. And so generally speaking, when it doesn't start, they'll just leave it, and you'll be good to go. Also, I want to show you on this rotor, take a look here, on this cap. See how dirty and corroded all those little pins are that are sticking up there. Those are supposed to be all super clean and nice. So we will be replacing this. If your car is not running well and you have a distributor like this and you check this and yours looks like that, replace it, because Spark has a hard time getting through that. All right, guys. Miracle of miracles, we did not break a single exhaust bolt or stud. They all came out, and amazingly, these exhaust manifolds don't have any cracks in them. I'm absolutely shocked. The only exhaust bolt we've broke at all is the one for the other, we broke this one, the other bolt for the exhaust pipes, but that's it, which is crazy. Now, I have been spraying down all of these bolts for like the last 3 weeks with penetrating oil. So if you've ever wondered if that works or not, it absolutely works. These all came off. That's super cool. I'm really happy about that. Pulling the fuel rail off, and I don't know if you can see that, but the other half of this is still inside there, and it did it on that one too. That sucks. That's super unfortunate. So we're going to have to drill out these guys when we go to put that intake manifold back on, and possibly retap those holes or something. It's not gonna be fun, but we'll get it done. Guys, well, I'm not sure what happened here. Pulled this piston out. Obviously, connecting rod is totally destroyed. The ear is completely gone. You can see where it beat the crap out of it. So it looks like it was the number 7 connecting rod that went through the side of the oil pan, but it was actually this end of it, not this end of it like I was thinking. And then it broke the piston all to pieces. What's interesting is the bolts came loose. The wrist pin didn't break, And I think this broke after the fact. This, and I think this is actually number 8. But the number 7 over here is way loose. The bolts are finger tight on this one. It was about to go too. So I'll have to do a little bit of research to see what causes that. I'm not super familiar with what causes these things to break. I don't know if it overheated that it would cause those bolts to stretch. I have had that happen before on a Porsche 911. They over revved it, the bolt stretched, and when it came back down, the nut was loose because the threads were strong longer now, and it just backed itself up, and then the number 5 piston came out through the top of the block. So that was pretty interesting. So I know that can happen. It would be super surprising, I think, if 2 of them did it, essentially 4 of them. But maybe it looked real hot back here. It burned all the oil off of it. So maybe that's all it took. It got super hot and then it stretched them and then they loosened out. That's probably it now that I think about it. So anyway, this isn't any good anymore. But we figured that once we saw the hole in the oil pan. So I think what we're going to need to do now is what time is it? I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and call that a wrap. I don't think that block is salvageable. I think that the connecting rod just beat the crap out of the cylinder too much, and I don't think that there's enough. I don't think there's enough of the cylinder left to even sleeve it because there's nothing to hold it. It's just gone. Those pieces that you saw me hold up to the camera there. That's all the pieces of the cylinder. But that's okay. That's all right. We can get a new block. We can get an entire new engine. There's lots of different options. I will figure that out. We'll decide what we're going to do, and we'll get her fixed. This stuff happens, especially when you only pay $200 for the truck. So all good there. So we are going to call that a wrap. Follow us on our Instagram channel. There's behind the scenes stuff, and there's also, we put things that happen on the channel. We put them on Instagram first so that you can get heads up on what's coming. If you like this video, click that like button, and if you enjoy what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And if you hit that notification button, then you'll know when we're hanging out. You'll be able to see the rest of the stuff that's going on here with Project F250. And you'll be able to see the stuff that Jake's working on. We got quite a few more old cars coming with Jake and Tom. We got a really cool review on the Raptor coming, a bunch of other stuff. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I love you. See ya.